Hey everyone, welcome to Heroic Nonsense and episode 2 of this new special series where we'll be looking at my original G1 collection of Transformers and 1/18 scale G.I. Joes from back in the day. This week we're taking a look at my original G1 Hound from 1984. As some of you already know, I just recently found a bunch of my original boxes which inspired me to create this new series. So as we wait for the new batch of Transformers and G.I. Joe Classified to come out, let's take a ride with Hound, the friendly Autobot scout who was originally supposed to be paired with Spike in the 1984 G1 cartoon series until that role was taken over by Bumblebee a few episodes later. The Jeep itself is still in great condition, a bit dusty and perhaps a bit loose at the back, but otherwise in excellent shape with no broken pieces, and it still transforms smoothly. This was one of my favorite Transformers. I remember I used to play with him a ton, and he was definitely in my main roster. Overall, doesn't look to be 40 years old at all, other than the stickers being a bit frayed. As you can see here, the box is actually a box from Canada which is both French and English and makes this box a bit more unique than Trailbreakers, who we reviewed in episode 1. Unfortunately, the edge of the box in this case has been ripped to shreds for some reason. Maybe my pup at the time got to it. Otherwise, the box is still in fairly good shape. So let's start with a close-up of the box itself with a great picture of Hound, which was pretty faithfully reproduced into cartoon form and obviously represented the more small but mighty version of the bot as compared to the Bayverse version. As an Army Jeep and Autobot soldier, Hound's designation was fittingly a scout. You have the nice little original Hasbro logo here and some of the standard front pack info. Up at the corner we have Hound's description. And at the top, as was the case for the early toys, we have the 4-step transformation instructions with pictures, a nice way to efficiently show how he transforms. Again, the unfortunately ripped edge on an otherwise fairly well preserved box. On one side panel, we have the bot and Jeep images with his French designation and Transformers tagline. While on the other side, you have the English version. It still has a price tag, only 11 bucks Canadian from Eden's, the largest Canadian department store at the time. On the back, we have the great G1 panel of all the Transformers from this first series with Hound all the way up in the top left corner flying through space. Because this is a Canadian version of the box, we have the French background info on the right side of the spec sheet, with the English version and image of Hound on the left. I'll provide a still of this later so you can take some time to read it, but the description really sums up Hound perfectly as he was seen in the cartoon. Here's the spec card, which we'll look at more in a sec, but first the Made in Japan and Takara callouts at the bottom, as well as a closer look at this great piece of art. So let's take out my stand-in decoder from the Transformers Monopoly game and decode Hound's tech specs. As you can see, he was a bit on the average side, pushing to some mid-higher numbers for most of his specs, with his highest being his courage at 10 and his skill at 9. Funny enough, for a soldier and an army vehicle, he didn't have much firepower. At the bottom of the box, we have a bit more info, specifically the breakdown of his accessories, as well as the robot points, which surprisingly I didn't cut out from this box. And there you have it, my original G1 Hound box. Now let's take a closer look at the toy itself. As I said earlier, he's still in excellent shape in my opinion, with all the stickers still attached. The rubber on the wheels have still held up after all these years, and the wheels work perfectly. You can get an idea here how small he is, but as you will see later, he lines up really well in vehicle mode with the other G1ers. The front looks great with a lot of detailing, including the silver headlights, grappling hook mechanism, and rear view mirrors, as well as having his iconic 5-pointed stars. And his hood has a bunch more details, all in these stickers, which are a bit worn down but still attached after all these years. The Autobot rub sign also still works. Hopefully you can see it a bit here. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Hound was based off of a Mitsubishi Jeep J59. Here's a view from the other side. Note the nice detail on the hubcaps. Also, the windshield does move up and down. Thankfully, it hasn't broken off. As for the top view, you can see his nicely detailed seats and a hole for his posable machine gun. The back, by the way, was made all in metal. And that's G1 Hound in Jeep form, a nicely detailed, straightforward, awesome looking military Jeep. As for accessories, he came with 3 missiles, 2 of which I have here, his shoulder mounted missile launcher, which has a launching mechanism, his hologram laser, and his posable machine gun for his Jeep, which I am unfortunately missing the stand for. I am also missing for the moment his gas tank. But let's forget about all that for the moment and jump into his transformation. We'll start by dropping down his back like this to form his legs, and then we'll just fold up his seats. And then you have these little side things that just rotate down 180 degrees. And don't forget to take off this tire. We're going to pull apart the Jeep at this point and then just rotate these wheels down, push back the windshield. We're just going to pull out his arms like this. They're pretty small, so you have to be gentle, especially if it's 40 years old. We're going to take his laser, put it in, and we're going to grab his shoulder-mounted missile launcher, and it just clicks in like this. And there you have it. That's all it takes to transform him. Now for a closer look at his bot mode. He's small to say the least, especially when compared to some of the other G1ers of this scale like Trailbreaker, but he actually is one of the best looking toys of the bunch when transformed. Obviously not very posable given the era, but extremely well proportioned. You have all these nice shiny silver sections on his legs, arms, and chest, and you can move his arms up a bit. His lasers are also nice and shiny, which adds for a nice contrast to his military coloring. And he's compact but very sturdy even after all these years with no gaps like the current toys have in many cases. Alright, let's transform him back into his Jeep mode by taking off his missile launcher and taking off his laser. Then what we're going to do is just lift this front portion back up, push the arms in as we do that. You just click them up and then those wheels go back up. We're going to take these little side pieces, rotate them 180 degrees. It's a little loose right now, but it will all come together. And now we'll just push these back up, these leg portions that form the back of the Jeep, push the seats down, and put the tire on. So you can keep him in this mode, which is a little bit of an extended Jeep. Still rolls perfectly fine. Or the way he's supposed to be, which is just push it back together and you have the more compact official form. So that's it for this special G1 episode with Hound. Overall a great G1 toy which held up extremely well over the years and one of my favorites. As promised, some stills of the box so you can explore the details a bit more and read some of the specs information if you'd like, as well as some nice pictures of Hound in both robot and G mode. I've also included some shots of G1 Hound next to his contemporaries, specifically War for Cybertron Hound and Detritus, whose mold the Earth Mode Hound from the current 5-pack is based off of. If you want to see the Detritus reviews, check it out here or in the link below. As I continue to do these G1 series reviews, I'll slowly add pictures of all the G1 robots I have reviewed together. For this second episode, I've shown some images of G1 Hound with G1 Trailbreaker, who I reviewed last time. Separately, I wish I had my Alternators Hound with me. He's at my parents', but I do have Alternators Swindle with me, which is the same mold as Alternators Hound, so I threw in a quick shot of them together in bot mode. As I have a ton of Alternators as well, for those of you who remember that series, I'll likely start a third series just for Alternators at some point, so keep a lookout for that, and I will definitely do Hound. One last thing, I find G1 Hound to be great in scale with the latest War for Cybertron and Legacy lines, much better than the War for Cybertron Hound and Legacy Detritus. So I've shown some comparison shots up against Earthrise Prime for reference at the end. Hope you enjoyed this episode 2 of our new G1 series, and see you next time with some new Transformers Universe and G.I. Joe Classified reviews. And remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.